Caddis Maximus here. This is going to be a super quick review. I know I'm doing a review of a cell phone charger today. This would be the Verizon vehicle or automotive 12-volt dual output USB charger with micro USB and flashlight. I'm not actually a Verizon customer, but I've always kind of liked a couple of the chargers that I found of them. One of them was this, and another one was actually this plug-in one, because they seem to, out of all the, there's plenty of criticisms of all the cell phone companies, but I can say this about Verizon, is that they're trying to do at least something, set themselves apart with their chargers. And I kind of wish other companies would do that. You know, they don't put on LED lights or anything on chargers. Most companies don't, Samsung, Apple, etc. Just because it's added expense, but it's always kind of nice to see that it's plugged in and the outlet's working. I'm kind of a person who does like indicator lights, and I like that they try to at least add some features. And so that's one of the deals with this vehicle charger, is that it is a common micro USB, but that it does include a separate, just standard USB port for charging, so you can plug in pretty much whatever you want. But the second fact was the little LED light, and they also sell USB charging wall chargers or charging cables that also have the LED light, and I thought that was a real interesting feature. Of course, at the cell phone store, they want $30 for this, but I'm sure it can be found online. I even looked for like $10 or something like that. It also has a very crazy model number. There it is. I'll include that in the description. I'll just plug it in. Oh, one thing about the stats of this, which I also appreciate, you can see that that's actually respectable. Out of the micro USB port, it says that it's 5 volts by 3.4 amps. So this thing puts out nearly, over 17 watts of power maximum, which is actually quite a bit of power out of a micro USB, and that would charge even the most demanding tablets and devices. That's actually a lot of power, and it says 2.4 amps out of the USB port. So this 3.4 amps would be total combined output, but if you had one device plugged into just the end of the cable, it would be up to over 17 watts, and then of course, 12 watts or so if you're just using the built-in USB port. I'll plug it in here real fast just to show. Let me make sure this doesn't get stuck in the socket. I have a virtual socket, but I've always appreciated the LED light. I like the intelligence where they actually included a transparent area around the USB port itself, so it's easy to find. And then, of course, it has a little LED light, so around a car, it's kind of handy to have a little flashlight just ready to go, easy to find, because you can find this and then drag the cable out of wherever it's at. And it helps you find, I think the intention is to help you find the port on the bottom of the phone more easily, where you can shine and then get it in the correct direction, as well as just having a neat little flashlight. So I really did like that about this charger. And of course, if you're using an Android device that's newer with a USB-C, you can get these little micro converters here, and this little thing will just plug right into the micro USB. It does fit pretty tight, although over time these plugs end up getting pretty loose. The other thing that they try to do on it is they have like a little boss that pushes out the plug, so they advertise it being compatible with most cases, and it will, except unless yours has a very tight fit. Then this little push out area may not entirely fit, but for most cases it does generally work. It does advertise a 9-foot cord, but it's all coiled up, so it ends up being about 1.5 feet long. I'll do a quick little demonstration of this charger as well, because since I'm not going to do a bunch of Verizon stuff, it's just that these couple of chargers are really like the LED light and the high output. Really, 3.4 amps out of with one device out of the micro USB is awesome. It's one of the most powerful car chargers I've seen. The other thing I wanted to show, since this is about Verizon chargers, is this wall wart. I believe this is a 10-watt wall wart. Let's see if we can't read it. Output 5 volts, 2.1 amps, so it's just a little bit above 10 watts. And I've always kind of liked this charger. It's gotten pretty worn, so it doesn't hold the plug very well. It isn't that it's a decent output at 2.1 amps, but what I like is that it's load sensing. And I always thought that was an innovative idea. So we have it plugged in. Of course, the LED light is this ring around the edge, just like the car charger. And I like the aspect of this one, not just having an indicator light, but it's actually more than just letting you know that it's plugged in, because you may not always be able to see the phone. The little dots, the pixels showing that it's charging may not be the most obvious. And so it provides you another way of showing that it's actually operating. What I mean by that, here, we'll plug it into the phone here. This is an older phone. Galaxy S6. And we'll plug that in. And what I think is interesting about this charger is when you plug in the device, and if you're charging something that's very like a USB flashlight or something that uses a tiny amount of power, maybe cordless headphones, or, you know, I'm not exactly sure, but there's several USB devices that just draw very little power when they're charging. It doesn't trigger the circuit, but when you plug it into something like a phone, it does work, because as soon as you plug it in, you can see that the light turns on, and then we can see the phone start charging. And I always kind of like that a lot, because you know it's actually active. And then once the phone's done charging and the current usage drops below whatever threshold this is set up for, the light will turn back off. And so you can just look at the charger and say, oh, it's charging, the light's off, I know the device is charged. And I thought that was actually pretty innovative. I really did appreciate that, and I kind of wish more manufacturers would integrate features like that. It actually makes sense and is somewhat useful. Anyway, I think I'll end the review here of the Verizon high output dual port vehicle cell phone charger, as well as including a review of their neat little wall wart charger. I really appreciate everybody watching and subscribing, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.